Hey everyone, welcome back. And recently, many companies are hiring back to back. Okay, so please update your profile in Naukri and then LinkedIn as well, so that you may get calls. Okay, so today we'll look at this question. Okay, so we will look out all sort of questions, all sort of details related to Maxcore. Okay, so yesterday we have seen information regarding the driving port. So if you have missed that, I'll just pin the link above. You can go and watch that. So it's kind of continuation. Okay, so because that driving port will affect the memory, and then we have a user comment as well. Okay, doubt comment as well. Okay, so we'll discuss on that one as well. And then all the like interview questions, and then the proper solution. Okay, so proper understanding and solution we will see in this video. Okay, so we'll get started with the session. It's one of the one of the which is a question to, okay, in this year. Okay, so many companies has been asking. Okay, so see TCS and then Capgemini. Okay, so many companies they've been asking about this Maxcore. Okay, so what is Maxcore, what is the purpose? Okay, so we'll see that today. Okay, we'll get started. Okay, so we don't have to waste time. Yeah, our expectation. Okay, so the expectation would be, see, as I said earlier. Okay, so in yesterday's session, people will be checking on your memory concept, spillage. Okay, reject threshold, and then some other like rare, rare concept. Okay, so this rare like system concept. Okay, so whatever co-op system concept. Okay, so I will just we'll discuss that. So we'll complete memory by today. Okay, so yesterday and today we will talk about this memory thing. Okay, so after that we'll start with spillage. Okay, after that we'll go one after another. Okay, so for this use case, for this Maxcore use case, you have to understand. Okay, so you understand that what are the components that involve Maxcore. And then like, see, I'll just tell you, like, both compound level and then system level. Okay, and then system level. When I say system, you just consider a cooperation. Okay, your Linux or backend. Okay, so system level, you have to understand on these areas. Okay, so which component has max core parameter, and then how does it affect your system performance. Okay, for example, I'll just tell you. Okay, so which component has that acts max core value, and then okay, and then how does it affect the system. Okay, how does it affect the performance. Okay, so you have to understand in this manner. Okay, so to uh, you know to like to crack the interview properly. Okay, see, in the interview, I'll tell you the questions type. Okay, so that you will get ready, you may get ready. Okay, like, properly. Okay, so first one, what is max score? Okay, so and then which component use it. Okay, so what are the components use that. Okay, use that max score. Okay, and then like default value. Okay, so default value, and then how can you how can you configure max score. Okay, so and then and then what happens. Okay, so what happens if your memory. Okay, so memory, if your data memory. Okay, so data memory exceeds your max score value. Okay, so these are type of questions which can be asked. Okay, so in the interview. So I think many of you already would have faced this type of questions. Okay, so we'll just discuss it detail today. Okay, so first, I'll just go back to the last video. So yesterday we have seen about driving port. Okay, so if you have missed that, please watch that and come back. Okay, so we have seen the driving port, and then we have got this interesting doubt. Okay, so yesterday we have been talking about two inputs, right? So in 0 and in 1. So in 0 10 record, and then in 1 we have been discussing 1 million record. Okay, so that's what we have been discussing. Because the reason why I'm discussing today is that we will continue with this doubt. Okay, with this query, so that you'll understand the max score like nicely. Okay, so 10 record and then 1 million record. Okay, so what happens is that definitely we will be giving this one. Okay, in one as a driving port. Okay, so that in 0 will be consumed in memory. Okay, will be read in memory. So this will be read in memory. Okay, So now we'll see that, okay, we have seen so far, okay, so far in the last video we have seen up to this, okay. So what happens after that? Okay, so this 10 records, okay, will be written memory. So that means your join component will have a parameter, right? Will have a parameter sorted input false, right? And then we'll have a parameter, you see whenever you have a sorted input false, you will see the driving port as well, and then you will see one more parameter, that is Maxcore. Okay, so these two parameters will get enabled if your sorted input is false. So that means like when your data is unsorted, okay. So when your data is unsorted, make sure, see when your join component, make sure your sorted input is false, okay. So that you will see that these two parameters, okay. So now what happens is that, okay, so Maxcore, okay, so you will be giving the driving port. So driving, okay, so driving port would be in let's say number, okay, so the integer number, so driving port is 1. So that means in 0 port, whatever like data is coming there, okay, so that will be written memory, okay, in John memory. So that if suppose that will be, let's say 100 bytes, okay. So the 10 record, total of 10 record accumulate to 100 bytes, okay. So what happens, your join Maxcore default value will be for like 64 MB, okay. So you'll be specifying, okay, you have that, one some value, okay, something, okay. So some you can go and check, okay. So bracket, okay, so default is 64 MB, okay. So now what happens, since we have declared, okay, driving as 1, so driving port, okay, so other port will be written memory. So 100 bytes is like sufficient, okay, sufficient for the join to, join to perform, okay. So perform like efficiently, okay. So but in the doubt, okay, so in the doubt, what Sandeep has asked is, what happens if you have 1 lakh data, okay. So what happens if you have 1 lakh here and then 10 lakh here, okay. So suppose I put 10 lakh here, okay, and then I put 1 lakh here, okay. So definitely like 10 lakh will be consumed as, driving port, okay, will be taken as driving port. So this one drives the join operation, and then 1 lakh record, you just compute the total size, okay. So if the total size is suppose crossing the, see, suppose you say 60 MB, okay. If that's a 60 MB, okay, 60 MB or 40 MB, whatever, okay. If that could lie between this range, okay. So this is maximum upper limit. So whatever you give here, that's a maximum upper limit, okay. So this is a default value. There would be some higher level value also, okay. So high level value also is there for Maxcore, okay. So that's kind of, around 2 GB, I think, okay. So please validate that as well, okay. So you please validate that, okay. So so far we have given the default limit as 64 MB, okay. That means 60 MB, okay. So sufficiently we can able to handle the, handle that memory, okay. So handle that operation, because see these will be, read, and then it will be written as, like memory, and then join will do the operation, okay. One will start the driving operation, and it will match that record, okay. So what happens if it crosses 64 MB, okay. That's the question now, okay. So what happens if you cross the 64 MB? So in that case, suppose this 1 lakh record is crossing, okay, 18, let's say 18 MB, okay. So definitely 10 lakh record will be used as a, driving port. So 1 lakh record, if it is, accumulating above 64 MB, okay, 80 MB, then in that manner, that's one, one scenario, one thing happens, okay. So your data spills, okay. So out of memory, okay, out of memory to your temporary disk, okay. So suppose you have temporary disk, right? So whatever, okay, a serial or serial path, okay. So your, it's like temporarily your data spills to the disk, and then your operation, and then your join operation occurs, okay. So because your memory could hold up to 64 MB, okay. So remaining say 26 MB, okay, 16 MB, okay. So remaining 16 MB will be spilled to your some temporary disk, okay. So here out of 18 MB, like remaining 16 MB, okay. So remaining 16 MB, because 64 MB will be held in memory, and then remaining 16 MB, okay, that will be, spilled to the temporary disk, okay. So that will be handled to the, spillage concept, okay. So this we will see later, okay. So this will come under spillage concept, okay. data spillage. Okay, so yeah, so these are use cases. Okay, so that's why I replied, okay, depends on the max core value, and then your data size also. Okay, so here the data size is okay, so data size is no 8 MB. Okay, so depends on your 1 lakh data. Suppose your 1 lakh data will have 8 MB also. Okay, so it will be small data also. Okay, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so you have to, you have to first find your size, and then you can like you can check in the background like backend, and then you can configure this max core. Okay, suppose if it is having 100 MB, then you can go and configure this one to 100. Okay, you can change this default value to 100 MB. Okay, so maximum limit is around like more than 1 GB. Okay, so that I'm sure. Okay, so more than 1 GB. Okay, so this is a like use case. Okay, one use case. So now we'll start with these questions. Okay, because first the reason why I'm starting with the use case is because like once we discuss on these five topics, you'll come to know understanding of this one. Okay, and this one is related to our previous video as well. Okay, so that it's easy for you to earn a connect. Okay, so first one, what is max core? Okay, so first we'll start with what is max core. Okay, so here you know first before no before starting with what is max core, what are the components? Okay, so what are the components that use max core? So first we'll solve this one. Okay, so that so that you'll have a proper understanding. Okay, because just going directly for the max score will do that, but what are components? So here the answer would be, so whatever that use. Okay, so whatever that needs memory, whatever component that needs memory, use max core. Okay, so whatever component, okay, whatever component that needs, okay, that needs memory will use the max core. So in that case, what are the no what are the what are the component you can name? Okay, so you say sort. Okay, you say roll up, you say join. Okay, you say scan. Okay, so all these, all these require, okay, require some in memory operation, so that it needs memory. Okay, so so that's a that's a definition as well. Okay, like like definition of why compounds going for mac core, but we'll see the definition. Okay, so here sort, and then wherever you have unsorted data, like in roll up and unsorted data and join. Okay, so that one, that compound will have the max core parameter. Okay, so that's one kind of question. Okay, answer to question. And then what is max core? Okay, so now we'll see max core. So here max core is nothing but your let's say maximum memory, okay, allocated to the component. Okay, okay, come on, before it's okay spills to temporary disk. Okay, this is a maximum memory. Okay, so maximum memory allocated to the component. Okay, so suppose in this case we have allocated joint component 64 MB only. Okay, suppose if you feel your production data is long like more larger, then you can like just allocate some 0.5 GB. Okay, some 500 MB. Okay, so like that to your joint component. Okay, so okay, so this is the definition. And then default value is nothing but your 64 MB. Okay, so that is 64 MB. And then the max high level. Okay, so high level, please check. Okay, so it's like more than 1 GB, but just once verify. Okay, so these are the definitions, and then what is max core. Okay, so now we'll go for the like which component usually, like we have seen that. Okay, so default we see on that. How can you configure max core? Okay, so just configuration part. Okay, configuration part, just when you open this any component. Okay, so open this any component, and then you'll find the max core parameter. Okay, you'll find the max core parameter. Max core parameter by default it will be by default it will be set to 64 MB. Okay, so just just you can click on that, and then click on edit. Okay, so click on edit, and then change that. Okay, change that, make sure you give it as give proper no prop to proper bytes. Okay, so you give something something, if you say 150 MB. Okay, something you just clear that, give that properly. Okay, something. Okay, so in size, okay, you just convert that into your bytes, okay, and then give that value. Okay, so this is a configuration part. And for configuration, just check your input data as well. Okay, so if your input is if your roller, if suppose if you are configuring in roller, you make sure input data, okay, input data of like before roll up, okay, before roll up, like you are in 0. Okay, so you have to find out that should be unsorted, because your Maxcore enables only if your unsorted data, okay, your sorted data is false. Okay, so that means you are doing an unsorted operation on roll up. Okay, unsorted data comes in, and then I'll just tell you scenario. Okay, scenario, because right before you are answering in an interview, you have to understand unsorted data. Okay, unsorted data comes into a roll up. Okay, so roll up, okay, operation does, and then it gives the output. Okay, so in the roll up you have the sorted type. Okay, sorted data is false, because you have unsorted data, right? Sorted is false. So if you set sorted is false, your max score value will come. Okay, will come into picture. So there you can give 100 MB whatever. Okay, so the thing is, first it starts with the unsorted data. Okay, so that's the scenario, and then you have to configure the rollup. Okay, so rollup configuration, like Maxcore configuration will be dealt here. Okay, so this one will appear, Maxcore value will appear only if you give this sorted type is equal to false. Okay, so that one you keep in mind. Okay, because in the interview, if they twist you off, if they try to trap you, you have to be clear. Okay, you have to be clear when the parameter appears, and then how to change, and then what to change. Okay, like what are the expected values. Okay, okay, so these are the thing. Okay, so now what happens if your memory exceeds your max core value. Okay, so for this we already done with the use case. Okay, I'll just detail you the another one. Okay, so here what happens if your memory exceeds your max core. Okay, suppose you say in the roll up, in the same roll up, answer data. Okay, so that is like it comes and then the size is nothing but 200 MB. Okay, so your max core is 100 MB. So that means your 100 MB. Okay, so your 100 MB will be returned to, okay, will be returned to temporary disk during the operation. Okay, during the roll up operation. Okay, so roll up operations. Okay, so the roll up, the roll up, roll up you make use of. Okay, so completes each group, right? So each group it completes. Okay, so complete each group. So while doing that, it will be cleared. Okay, so each group. Okay, and then make use of both its own memory. Okay, so make use of okay, so make use of its own memory, its own declared. Okay, so we have declared 100 MB, right? So its own 100 MB memory, and then the temporary disk. Okay, for the computation. So after the computation, after group computation, after each group computation, what happens? Your temporary disk like will be freed up. Okay, so until will be freed up. Okay, like slowly, and then after the entire process, after entire roll of computation, your temporary disk will be like cleaned up. Okay, it will be freed up. Okay, like completely. So that's the operation. Okay, that's the operation. What happens if your values exceed. Okay, if it is like below the max core value, then sufficient. Okay, so if it is, you have to answer. Okay, if it is lies below. Okay, lies below your max value, then what happens? Then your process runs smoothly. Okay, so no need to worry on the. Okay, so runs smoothly, no need to worry on the performance. Okay, so performance is unaffected, and then is normal. Okay, so advisable thing is always always try to keep the. Okay, try to keep the max score value. Okay, max score value to not too much high. Okay, so don't give too much high. So to a like a normal. Okay, to a like average. Okay, average value. Okay, so needed or average value. Okay, so what happens now is this is a final question. Okay, what happens if you, okay, what happens if to your max score. Okay, so what happens if you try to keep. Okay, try to keep a larger value. Okay, let's say 1.5 GB. What happens? So for this one, it's a very alarming one. Okay, so this one, if you set this one, your water component, okay, join or roll up or whatever, will collapse. Okay, so this one will, no, it will collapse. Okay, so because the reason here is you are trying to access a maximum resource. Okay, so what happens, you are trying to access maximum resource, and then it will be terribly like failed. Okay, so process will be failed. Okay, so it's advisable to keep the normal range, don't keep the high range. Okay, so that's the concept. Okay, so I hope you understand this video. So I hope it's like helpful. Okay, please share with your friends. Okay, please understand the concept thoroughly, and then and then just like practice this once, and then I can you can easily crack the interview. Okay, so in all sort of in all sort of questions. Okay, so whatever definition, and then use case, and everything. Okay, so that's it for today. I'll just come with the other topic. Okay, so until then, tata, bye bye.